is automation key to scaling, or does it depend on the type of product or service you're offering? Is automation key to scaling? Let's see. Well, we got Michael. Can I go with you on this one?
Yeah. So I think the important thing is to automate the stuff which is just the busy work which doesn't take any thought from you. So you got to take away all the things which you've been like, every Friday you got to do that thing, send it to that person, automate that away. But make sure you don't try to automate away the way which is your secret sauce, the part where you really add value, because you can't. It's okay to do that stuff by hand and to hire great people to do that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. Jiaqi, what do you got?
Yeah, well, and this is a very interesting question for me, because kind of the whole idea of Lambot is behind the automation, right? So what we are seeing in the market is like the level of digital communication, right, is growing exponentially with the rise of messaging apps like Slack, our personal messaging, text messages, even all those productivity tools we have like Google Docs, Airtable. All these applications are adding a communication layer, a chat for you to talk to people, right? And I think that will only be helpful until we are completely saturated. Like the productivity growth of human is limited. We cannot keep up with all that amount of communications people are sending to us constantly, right? So I believe really the true key to scale is automating things. Like we have to be smart about what to automate, like Michael mentioned. The key for me is really to identify first, what are your major bottleneck? What are the things that takes most of your time but provide the least value, right? And then start from there, slowly, adding more and more automation. I think RPA companies are also kind of doing great job on educating companies how to automate, manual processes. And I can imagine in a future where, a lot of manual processes we are doing today will be fully automated, and people will be focused just on the value adding stuff, right? The stuff that require complex, reasoning and things that only humans can do good, and the rest will be just handled by automation systems.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I'm feeling that. David, what were we thinking?
So I'm going to say something that at first glance might sound sacrilegious to the no-code community, but I'm going to caution you to not automate too quickly. I think you learn a lot of things by doing things manually first. And I think there's a really great chance, when you're starting up something, to really experience what that's like for whoever's doing that process, or especially if it's your customers or your community and your members that are doing that when you do it by hand a lot, or, by hand, but that you really like start to empathize and realize like what the most important parts of that thing are. So if you would have just automated that away like too quickly, you might not have learned. So I definitely think that in order to scale, it's super key, but you sort of first have to say, okay, like, are we finished learning this? Like, have I done this enough time that it's like, all right, I know exactly what's going to happen next. Great. Automate it and move on to the next thing.
I don't really have anything to add besides not using scaling and automation as an excuse to not getting the right work done that you should be getting done right now. Like I've been getting into projects where I wanted to, I was looking for apps to automate this and that and this. And instead of getting the right work done that I should have been getting done, I was just spending so much time finding apps that would automate that work. I would get it done much faster by just sitting down and pumping out the work. And in the end, you find the app, you spend a lot of time on it. It automates the process, but then you don't really need to automate that specific process because it's not repeatable enough for it to be automated. So I just wanted to caution about that. But I love all the other replies.
That you know what? That's so true. I love all the different perspectives. People are saying people now take in size. They're like, David, 100%. Jiaqi, you got different cohorts right here. Someone is saying this is like the biggest stars of Game of Thrones. I love this. People are so great in the chat today. So you guys are doing great.